Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. Welcome to our channel. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, the economy, as well as our money. I've been with you since the beginning of the pandemic, and I'll continue to be with you. But some new reporting has just emerged that as many as 22 million jobs have been lost in advanced economies due to the pandemic, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, that is the OECD. Here's the headline of an article on your screen from CNBC. COVID has destroyed 22 million jobs in advanced economies, according to the OECD. So, to think about this for a second, 22 million jobs lost. Now, all the stimulus, all the unemployment benefits, job retention schemes have actually allowed individuals to carry on. In fact, they have saved 21 million jobs. But a lot of rich countries like the United States of America face the threat of rising long-term unemployment rates. Now, let's be clear. More than 25 Republican states across the country have actually eliminated the $300 a week unemployment benefits ahead of the September deadline that was stipulated under the American Rescue Plan. They can legally do this. They can legally opt out of the $300 a week early, although states have started to get sued over this, and I have covered that also on our channel. The bigger problem is those who are unemployed, individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality, those who've been unemployed for 6 months or more are considered long-term unemployed. In fact, the long-term unemployment rate is a major problem. It's a major problem for advanced economies. In fact, the impact of that sustained underemployment or unemployment with long-term unemployment is said to be worst felt by the most vulnerable amongst us. We're talking about women. We're talking about low-skilled workers. And unfortunately, this pandemic has disproportionately impacted some people worse than others, and it has disproportionately impacted those who are the most vulnerable. This really is the sad part of this entire situation. In fact, the OECD's annual employment outlook said that job retention schemes that governments rolled out during the pandemic did save 21 million jobs, yet long-term unemployment is on the rise, specifically for low-skilled workers who've been displaced by the pandemic. Here's a quote from Stefan Carcillo, who's the head of the OECD's Job and Income Division. Stefan said this: "Many of the jobs that have been lost during this pandemic crisis will not be recovered." In fact, in May 2021, unemployment amongst OECD countries fell to 6.6%. In other words, the recovery has indeed taken place, but this is still 1% above pre-pandemic levels. Of the 22 million individuals who remain out of work across the OECD, 8 million are unemployed and 14 million are considered inactive. What does this actually mean? 8 million individuals cannot find jobs and 14 million individuals actually dropped out of the workforce. In other words, the labor force participation rate decreased. People decided that they had to take care of kids. People decided they had other responsibilities, and people essentially dropped out of the workforce. Now, what is the forecast for the third quarter of 2023? Let's go out 2 years into the future. The OECD said it does not expect overall employment across member countries to return to normal until the third quarter of 2023. However, there are some individual countries which have handled the crisis better. So what is the impact of this sustained long-term unemployment? Well, it's going to be felt most by those who are the most vulnerable. I'm talking about low-skilled workers. I'm talking about women. Again, they are disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Here's another quote from Stefano Scarpetta, who's the Director of Employment, Labor and Social Affairs at the OECD. Stefano's quote is this: "The scars could be felt for a long time for young people in terms of employment and wages." In fact, young people are likely to be more adversely impacted than the adult working population. In fact, according to the OECD, the impact for young people has been at least twice as high as it has been for adults, and young people in Canada, the United States, Mexico, and Spain were hit the hardest. Now, let's be clear. The employment landscape is particularly difficult for young people. In fact, it took a full 10 years for youth employment to return to normal levels following the 2008 global financial crisis. So, to avoid that scarring effect, more needs to be done to invest in young people, according to the OECD. In fact, here's a quote from Scarpetta: "The key message is we should do better this time. We cannot have young people so severely affected." In the meantime, since more and more people are working remotely, this is actually a good thing because people can work remotely and people can be productive while having a better, hopefully, a better work life balance. So, a lot of employers are starting to become more flexible and inclusive in their work policies. But Scarpetta did say that going forward, there is potential for telework to be more widespread. However, accessibility challenges need to be addressed. What does that mean? It means companies need to identify who can work remotely, how they'll work remotely. Do they have the correct setup? Do they have the correct computer? Do they have the right high-speed internet connection? Do they have all the material they need at home to be productive? That indeed is going to be the big question as we move forward, because let there be no mistake, there's a big realignment in the labor force. Those who are the most vulnerable have been left behind as a direct result of the pandemic, whereas a majority of the rest of the workforce has indeed adapted, specifically individuals with high income levels, specifically with individuals who are at an executive level, who can indeed work from home, who don't need to be physically present in front of their clients or their employers to be able to carry out their duties. My recommendation to all our viewers and subscribers at Ignition Time is, if you feel remote work is a good fit for you, but your job does not qualify you to do remote work, start looking at other options, enhance your skills, enhance your skill set, learn new things, go through courses, whether it's courses on YouTube, whether it's courses that you can take online, so you can expand your skill set, so you can be more productive. Whether you choose to work for a new employer or whether you choose to start your own business is entirely up to you. But try and find something that suits your post-pandemic lifestyle. Now, let's be clear. I want our viewers and subscribers to be able to help those who need help the most. So, if you are in a position to help someone who needs help, do your best to offer a helping hand, because at the end of the day, there are some individuals who've been left behind as a direct result of the pandemic, primarily African American individuals, primarily Hispanic individuals, and within that group, I'm talking about primarily African American women, primarily Hispanic women who have been most affected. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. Thank you so much for watching. I want you to know that I'll always provide you with the latest information pertaining to the country, the economy, as well as our money on this channel. Now think about this for a second. I'll leave you with one final thought. Advanced economies like the United States of America are struggling with long-term unemployment. Spare a thought for other countries that don't have the kind of financial capability that we have here in America. Other countries are suffering significantly more. In fact, the plight of the downtrodden, the plight of the poor in those countries is not even being addressed, because those governments don't even have the capability to be able to address those needs. They don't have the ability to print trillions of dollars and to send out trillions of dollars in stimulus. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. Please enable notifications. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.